Through this video, I want to share a story about change and earnestness. Prior to that, there are many lessons that the Bible wants to give in order to receive the original meaning only when the skin is peeled off like a fruit. And basically, the earnestness that people say is predicated on the fact that I don't have it, can't do it, I can't do it, and I'm not sure. However, I want you to start by knowing that this is not the attitude that a person who serves and believes in God, is filled with the Holy Spirit, or has grown up with the Word should have. Let's find out the reality of earnestness through the story of a woman with a blood clot for 12 years, Bartimaeus blind, and an unjust judge. Those who do not read the Bible seriously understand that they have to seek God seriously and persistently just to get what they want. The thoughts of such a person can only be taught at a very low level. God doesn't answer your prayers depending on how sad and pitiful you seem. Do you believe in the Bible that they were healed because of their desperate need to pierce the crowd without giving in to their surroundings? Well, it doesn't seem like it is written in the Bible to tell you to know that way, so let's take a look at it together.
Often, there are people who go up to a prayer center or a mountain to pray when they have a problem. There is even a saying that early morning worship was born because Jesus went to the mountain to pray while he was on this earth. Anyway, I think that's why I'm following it, but that's why Jesus wanders around without a fixed place to lay his head, so he doesn't even have a proper place to pray, so he went to the mountains and fields to pray. So, like other religious people, I don't want you to go to the mountains to build towers, light candles, wear amulets, and pray unless you deliberately do it. Then, if you get hurt because of your carelessness, don't say it's a hardship or a test. So let's start with the 12-year-old woman with a hemorrhage. Every sermon says the same thing. She was desperate, in a situation where she could be stoned to death. She went through the crowd, so do you not see her desperate situation and earnestness? So let's do that too. Because God is love, some have told us that we must do this unconditionally as a formula, but he also makes many exceptions for the children. But what we need to know is not to follow the world, but to live a life of faith that is much higher than what people usually know. Let's take a closer look.
The crowds followed Jesus and pushed him from all directions, trying to touch him and see him. Then, dozens of sick people would have gathered up the courage to touch the hem of Jesus' robe, but wouldn't the healing power not come out even if the rest of the people were touched because the woman with a hemorrhage was the most earnest among them? If she hadn't been there, would it have been written in her Bible that someone so eager to receive her number 2 would receive her healing on her behalf? Maybe through her healing, Jesus had a lesson that Jesus wanted to give, so anyone could be healed by touching Jesus, but I even think that Jesus is waiting for her to come. If the only purpose was to heal, it would have been a good opportunity to leave a true record in the Bible that healing was achieved not only by touching clothes but also by stepping on shadows. And the reason is to show the topic we want to share today, faith that speaks, hears, and works. And at this point, I would like to see the story of Bartimaeus blind as well. As Jesus passed by, he shouted for mercy in a loud voice, and when Jesus called, he threw everything he had and ran away. This is also his earnestness. And you must have often heard sermons in the church that when he came to Jesus he had to throw away all he had, at least one coat, hunting vessel, and worldly things. You must have seen the pastor shouting loudly during his sermon saying, "Son of David, have mercy on me," as it is written in the Bible, saying that we should be earnest and desperate like Bartimaeus. Then there must have been times when the people in the church were moved to see that and wept. In these two different situations, the earnestness of the two had consequences. So if you were taught to follow us as well, then you have been mistakenly learned and received in the flesh, not in the spirit. To help you understand, remember for a moment the story of the unjust judge. Jesus said, "And will not God bring about justice for his chosen ones, who cry out to him day and night? Will he keep putting them off?" So, if you are wrongly thinking that the answer is to cry earnestly to God and to hang around, look at the following verse. "I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth?" Jesus did not say that he would regard those who screamed so loud that I could hear them even in the crowd, those who came to me and gave up all they had to come to me, and those who broke through the crowds ready to die as desperate people. And he says, and he asks if you ask every day, that you will release your grudges, but when he comes back, will I see those who have faith? Then it is normal for you to feel a little dizzy in this part. Will Jesus see my faith? Huh? Am I wrong? Listen carefully. The woman with hemorrhage also said, "Take care, daughter, your faith has saved you." And she said to Bartimaeus, "Your faith has saved you." He didn't say anything about his earnestness, about his desperate feelings, about shouting out loud and coming through the crowd, but only about his faith. People's fault was to focus only on religious behavior and believe that it was a way of expressing the earnestness we should have for what we are asking for now. Through the story of the judge, Jesus taught a higher level parable, saying, "Always pray, but never give up or lose heart," rather than the religious and physical urgency that people often think of. And we must clearly understand that what Jesus is asking for is a faith that is firmly established in a person's heart, regardless of the circumstances, deep in the heart. Even though it is impossible to please God without faith, this is the reason Jesus gave us. That way, I think the overall content and composition can be seen as a bit like the Bible and teaching that fits the level of Jesus. A good man out of the good treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is good, and an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is evil, for of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaketh. For 12 years, the woman with the hemorrhage had heard rumors of healing before meeting Jesus. She has since then continued to build something for herself in her own heart, the conviction of her faith in none other than Jesus. And she continued to say it with her mouth, and she heard it herself. You just need to have an understanding of what she said to herself. She may have struggled with her desperation, but the situation before that is a sad situation in which she continued to be disheartened, only recorded in the Gospels of Matthew and Mark, which are slightly different. Anyway, I'll show you the English Bible, so take a look. She said to herself, "If I only touch his cloak, I will be healed." When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, "If I just touch his clothes, I will be healed." Again, there is a problem with the interpretation of the Korean version of the Bible. The English Bible says she said to herself, but it is written as only she said. In the case of being healed, it is completely different from the original meaning of giving up healing as salvation. This is the kind of faith that can be seen in the story of the judge that Jesus spoke of. The common sense of urgency is fake and the real truth is belief, and that is, speaking confidently to myself as if I had the results in advance even after hearing only rumors.
And the belief in the healing that one can hear and confess is ultimately faith in Jesus. This is the faith Jesus wanted to convey to us, the things that have already filled my heart to the point where it can only be expressed through my mouth and actions, and that is the faith that Jesus wants to see when he comes again. Please strengthen your understanding of the saying that what was filled in a person's heart comes out of the mouth. In addition, I hope that the following very short but accurate passage about salvation through faith will give you a deeper and more clear understanding of the faith Jesus spoke of. For with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. The faith Jesus is talking about is not a religious concept that I try to make somehow or a physical effort that I try to believe. Therefore, it is not something that people try to forcefully create or squeeze themselves to become desperate. Religious behavior can be misunderstood by people as having faith in them. However, the woman with the bleeding had real faith in Jesus. That's why Jesus said to her and Bartimaeus the same, "Your faith has saved you." Jesus never said a word about the earnestness of the woman with the bleeding, and never praised Bartimaeus for shouting. Neither their earnestness was misinterpreted by religious people through Jesus' words that their faith had saved them, not their earnestness. I love them that love me, and those that seek me early shall find me. There is a saying in the Old Testament, "Who seek me," so even now, someone who is still religious goes to the mountain and still prays while holding onto a tree or kneeling under a rock to pray. In doing so, they mistake their vain efforts to meet God with their efforts and sincerity with earnestness. So I don't know if they have met God or have had any experience, but Jesus says the following. Jesus answered and said unto him, If a man love me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him, and we will come unto him, and make our abode with him. Jesus said that if a man loves me, he will keep my word. Most Christians are good at saying only Jesus, repentance, and the word, but they do not keep the word of the command they have been given to keep. It is the result of focusing only on the blessings I will receive. It's more important to me than that, after all, that I don't love Jesus. They don't speak in tongues, they don't believe that they have received what they prayed for, they don't always rejoice, and they don't love their neighbor as themselves. They don't love Jesus,
so they don't keep His commandments, and they pray at any time and beg for what they need. Every church says they love Jesus, but He will know. I hope you have found that you need to have the heart to love Jesus and have faith in it by getting rid of the physical longing. I hope you have a clear understanding that God, who looks at the heart of your heart, sees your faith, not your earnestness as you climb mountains and hide in the crevices of rocks, twisting and screaming. Efforts to meet and impress Him through the law or by carnal works are just like shamanism or local beliefs. You must also know clearly that when you call Jesus with your throat bursting, He does not stop what He is doing and listen to your prayers. But that no man is justified by the law in the sight of God, it is evident, for the just shall live by faith. What does Jesus really want to know? Jesus wants to know, do you love me, do you believe in me, do you believe what I will give you, and can you receive it? Please do not mistake faith for a highly religious and carnal act that believes that you respond according to the volume of your voice, how much you twist your body, and how much you cry. What we must remember clearly is that what pleases God is our faith by holding on to the word of promise and living it. So faith is not about squeezing and begging or putting the blame on God to make it happen. If you pray for help just this time, you are bargaining with God. If done wrong, Christianity has easily viewed as a religion that which a thirsty man digs a well on his own. Christianity is not a religion that obtains anything from God by plausibly plausible with the earnestness of my physical efforts and devotion. Above all, the wrong understanding of urgency or earnestness is the lack of understanding of children connected to God's provision, like the parable of the vine. It just seems like the complaints of those who have been broken and abandoned by trees, and those who cannot live their lives by holding on to the countless promises mentioned in the Bible with faith. So, to the one who sees the heart of the heart, no matter what storms in the world come, show yourself a person who stands firm in the faith, boldly proclaims the word, believes in God's promises, and lives. I hope that you will become a mature person who always listens to His words, which calms even your turbulent heart, and who believes in your heart and lives every day that leads to righteousness.